I'm late. I'm always late. I'm trying to fix that, but had to go to the doctor this morning and I still forgot it. I will explain in a moment. Let's go.
I can't do it. We'll do it live. Do it live! I'll write it and we'll do it live!
Mister, will you please wake up? Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up.
Good morning! Snowman here to all you Brock Purdy and San Francisco 49er haters. Shut up! I gotta thank you, Shane.
I mean, whatever happened to the games where breaking 100 points was, I don't know, unusual?
There was one word to sum up the All-Star weekend.
Trays. Cause we take this job so serious.
Splash Brothers, yes. Ray Allen, replace him with Steve Kerr. Reggie Miller, yeah.
What in the all types of blue hell?
You know what? I may need to roll that again because I'm not ready. Like I said, I'll explain in 60 seconds. So, take two. Let's go.
I can't do it. We'll do it live. Do it live! I'll write it and we'll do it live!
Mister, will you please wake up? Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up.
Good morning! Snowman here to all you Brock Purdy and San Francisco 49er haters. Shut up! I gotta thank you, Shane.
I mean, whatever happened to the games where breaking 100 points was, I don't know, unusual?
There was one word to sum up the All-Star weekend.
Trays. Cause we take this job so serious.
Splash Brothers, yes. Ray Allen, replace him with Steve Kerr. Reggie Miller, yeah.
What in the all types of blue hell?
Oh yeah! I'm finally awake. Good morning. Welcome to the tripped out Thursday edition of Snowman in the Morning. Glad to have you all with us. This portion presented by BetUS.com. There's Droid, there's a Vicala, and there's a half sleepy me. We're going to get you through the next couple of hours. Gentlemen, how are you?
What is going on, man? How's it doing?
No AC. That's pretty much all I have to say.
Ooh.
I drank too much coffee. And that's all I
Ouch.
have to say. I was up at 5 this morning because for some reason I couldn't get back to sleep. So I went out, got breakfast, came back, and was on a roll. Then my legs gave out.
Uh-oh.
I'm trying to do laundry. I really am. And I know it's going to take a while, and I got to have my energy in spurts while I get my legs back under me. I know all of that. But when I stood in front of the washer, and I stood up straight, and everything in my lower body was on fire. Oops.
Gotta get reacclimated. You've been sitting down for a bit.
Yeah.
Get reacclimated.
And I know this. There's a possibility of an American League Championship matchup I never thought I'd say, but I'm going to say it as we dive in. One team I expect to be there, the Houston Astros.
Right.
The other team I'm looking at, the Kansas City Royals.
I was about to say, if you leave out my Royals, we're going to have some words after the show.
Oh, we're going to have a couple of words. We're going to have a couple of words anyway.
I'm not surprised.
I'm not. Look, the Royals.
And you were talking, and Brian, you were talking about how you don't have coffee, right?
Something like that.
Well, I got an energy drink, so I think I'll be good for the show.
No,
here's what's left of what I had this morning.
I'm not surprised. I mean,
no, I'm not either.
The Royals have been on an absolute tear.
First 70-win season in what, 3 years?
3 years. 3 years. And they can dance. I think they'll get 90 at least. I think the Royals will get 90. But my question is for Droid, can they come all the way back and snatch that division like I predicted them to at the top of the year?
It really depends on these next few games for the Guardians specifically. If the Guardians start going on a losing streak, then the Royals will be fine. But the Royals have a tough, I think, 3-4 game series against the cross-division rivals, the NL Central's current leading team, the Philadelphia Phillies.
The Phillies. JJ's group.
Oh, boy. And the Phillies, and I don't think JJ will mind when I say this, the second half of the year, the Phillies have been a Jekyll and Hyde team. They have really been a Jekyll and Hyde team because one moment they're in an abyss, and then Kyle Schwarber hits a slam to basically save their season. They got a big win last night in Atlanta. Because for some reason, Atlanta still thinks they can come all the way back and win that division, which they're not.
I love Ronald Acuna, great baseball player, but I don't think they win in the division like that.
No, I don't think so either. The other team that I expected to be in the pennant race, the Houston Astros. And after the way the season started, the way Seattle came out like gangbusters, and many people were messaging me going, see, the Mariners are the new team in the West.
Wrong.
I said, just be patient.
I think one of the big things that the Mariners messed up on was giving away Teoscar Hernandez to the Dodgers.
Yep. And they gave him away. You know who I compare the Seattle Mariners to? The Dallas Cowboys.
Really?
Yeah.
We not even 10 minutes into the show and Victor already catching flag?
Right?
Yep.
Really?
Yes. I challenge this. I challenge anyone with what I'm about to say. The Mariners remind me of the Cowboys.
Beating already.
I haven't begun to give you a beating yet. I am just making a thorough comparison and a true comparison with the fact that the Seattle Mariners owned the West by 10 games. 10. And in less than a month, the Astros wiped it out.
That's just how good the Astros are, though.
And think about this. The Astros don't have Kyle Tucker in the lineup. They just got Alex Bregman back yesterday.
And Altuve's night wasn't even in the lineup yesterday.
Yeah, Altuve got a rest day because they have a big 4-game series coming up against the Baltimore Orioles, which could be a division series preview.
How about the Orioles, though? Like, the complete just 180 from last year.
That is series I'm looking at. That's series I'm looking
from
forward
2
to.
years ago. Because remember, the Orioles last year won 100 games before they got
did really
the
well.
Texas Rangers.
They did really well. They did really well. That's the series I'm looking forward to.
I'm looking forward to seeing the Astros take on both the Orioles and the Royals in the American League because I think those are going to be your 3 top teams.
Makes sense to me.
The
But
Astros,
for me, I
the
think
Orioles,
what
and
I'm
the
looking at
Orioles.
right now is tomorrow at 7:10 is a possible World Series matchup
Oh,
between the Kansas City Royals and the Philadelphia Phillies.
Try again. I slept on it. I thought about it. I have two problems with Kansas City. I love what they're doing. Don't get it twisted. Bobby Witt Jr. is him. Okay.
one,
I have two problems with the Royals. Starting pitching,
2.
bullpen.
So you think it's going to come to the arms giving
They
up
can
before?
get. This is what I've seen with the Royals lately, and I stress the word lately. They can get 1 through 6 innings, 1 through 6 with no problem. It's 7, 8, and 9 that frightens me.
Just a reminder that we shut out the Angels last night.
That's the Angels. The Angels are falling apart like the Cowboys do in Santa Clara. Come on, Victor.
What
Throw
did
stone at
I
me.
do today? What's wrong with you?
What do you mean? What's wrong with me?
What did I do today?
You bitched about him being late.
No, I deserve that
I
one.
said he asked me to do that.
I asked Victor to be my accountability partner. So Victor was only doing his job. I'm just giving him mess.
I can see that. We'll get to the Cowboys later because
We're going to get to the Cowboys right now.
Oh God, we're talking baseball.
I know that. We can work the Cowboys in while talking baseball, considering the Cowboys and the Mariners are an accident waiting to happen. Seattle gave away Teoscar Hernandez. Here's the comparison. Seattle gave away Teoscar Hernandez to the Dodgers of all teams, who are also going to choke. Okay. Seattle can't score a run to save their lives. They just got spanked by said Dodgers.
I also want to remind everybody that bubble championships don't count.
I'm going to put it like this.
Listening?
I'm going to challenge
are you
this.
Listening? Chicago Scrubs, are you listening?
I'm going to challenge this. The Mariners are not like the Cowboys.
Yes, they are.
No, they are not.
Okay.
Yes, they are.
Okay.
No, they're not.
I'll hear Victor out. I want to see what his defense is.
They are not like the Cowboys. Because if they were like the Cowboys, if they're like the Cowboys, they would mess up in the postseason, not midway through the season. I actually compare the Mariners to more like the Atlanta Falcons. Halfway through the season,
you can't compare the Mariners.
They fall apart.
You can't compare any MLB team to those trash NFC South teams.
You can't compare the Mariners to the Atlanta Falcons for the simplest of reasons. At least the Mariners are competitive. You're talking about a team
halfway through.
Listen to me carefully. You're talking about, each of these teams made a huge mistake. The Mariners gave away Teoscar Hernandez.
They did.
The Falcons signed Kirk 2 Chainz Cousins.
And then drafted a quarterback afterwards.
Exactly. Now, I know Deb going to kick my ass for this statement, but until I see different, and I said when I interviewed Deb that I can see the positive moves of the Falcons, and they just may mess around and win that division by default. Because I see nothing from nobody else in that division. And my
dark horse pick,
New Orleans.
My dark horse pick for that,
New Orleans. New Orleans doesn't have a quarterback. Big problem.
That's what they should have drafted, but no.
Exactly.
They should have drafted.
Like Jason, you had plenty of QBs that were good still left in that draft class, and they just chose not to draft. They chose to just focus on defense. Yeah, defense wins championships, but when you got no offense, you can't really do much.
The quarterback who, since we're already diving into football, what the hell? Kyle Sinber will join us at 45 past the hour. You know who the Saints should have drafted as a quarterback?
Who?
Bo Nix.
True.
Yeah, Bo Nix has been doing great in Denver.
Bo Nix should have been the Saints quarterback. Instead, the Denver Broncos are going to trot him out. Look, Bo Nix is doing great in the preseason.
I will ask this
Doing
question.
wonderful in the preseason. It's September 8th that scares me.
I'll ask this question.
Yes, sir.
Even if New Orleans did draft a quarterback, what a line at?
You can ask the same about Denver,
You
Carolina,
gonna say that's Chicago?
the Bears,
What a line
the
at?
Giants, the Falcons.
At least the Falcons have
the
some semblance of an offensive line.
Yeah, this is true.
Derek
Not
Carr
gonna
was
deny-
getting destroyed.
Not gonna deny that.
Carr was getting destroyed back there in the backfield.
Mm-hmm. And he won't make it to the season.
No.
He will not make it to or through the season unless they get a line.
Like I said,
Which leads me to now my obligatory slander of Caleb Williams.
I'll just say this. For the Mariners, the Mariners are that streaky team that can catch fire really quickly.
They're not catching fire the back end of this season.
Well, that's the thing, is that they get streaky at the beginning, but they don't have the stamina to keep going through. They don't have the stamina to actually
messed up. They messed up. The Mariners messed up and didn't fix the one thing that can get them through to the postseason. Fellas, class, pitching. Oh, gun it.
Pitching.
You're going to a broadcaster of 30 years. If you ain't got no pitching, you ain't got no team.
You really don't.
I said that's so grammatically incorrect, and my dad would just pop.
Well, let's put it this way: every sport, if you really think about it, pretty much every sport has that one that starts everything off. For basketball, it's the point guard. For football, it's the quarterback. For baseball, it's the pitcher. You have to.
What have I always said? What are the two syllables I've always said? Pitch ing.
Yep. Pitching. You
my
have
daughter's
to.
My daughter's cat is raising hell right now.
Oh, I hear it. You have to know.
Do you hear Kit Kat in the background?
Mm-hmm.
She's raising hell right now because Sonia is on her way to Indy to get an MRI. But go on.
I hope she's all right. You have to be able to pitch well. And depending on how good the pitching is, it could either mean a long slog or it could be a quick game. And you and I have called very quick games, 9-inning games, mind you.
10-inning games.
10-inning games that barely last 30, 40 minutes? Because it's 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3.
I mean, hell, we've called 2 no-hitters.
Yeah.
We've called 2 no-hitters.
The pitching is always going to be your bread and butter.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you can hit home runs all day, but if your pitcher's throwing, ducks, if your pitcher's throwing softball pitches,
broke out of the park,
right?
Who would be if the Royals make it to the playoffs, and I'm praying they do?
Mm-hmm.
In a division series, Droid, who's the game 1 starter?
Brady Singer. Or you could do Lorenzen. If you don't want to start your best pitcher immediately, you go with Lorenzen. Because Lorenzen's easily the second best pitcher on the Royals. As we saw last night against the Angels, he was throwing strikeouts like it was nothing.
Speaking of the Angels, as we're all over the place this morning,
we're trying to stay on baseball for right now.
Oh, that's why I went to the Angels. Do we write an epitaph to Mike Trout's career right now?
If Mike Trout can't get out of LA, I think his career's done.
Yeah, which sucks because I kind of like Trout.
Y'all are not going to like my next sentence.
You think he's finished now?
I think he's finished. I mean, the injury bug, especially given his knee, we'll take him out. He's done. And I hate saying it because I love seeing Mike Trout play.
I do too.
I want you to go back about 5 years, though, when he came into camp a little heavy, but was still making plays.
Right.
I don't want to put it on that being the reason that it cost him, but it just seems.
It just might.
Yeah. And I hate saying it. I love Mike Trout. But he's with the wrong team. He's with the wrong team. Ohtani got the hell out of there. He just went to the other side and now playing with the Dodgers. His career got rescued. Mike Trout's career won't get rescued. And I think
unless Mike Trout gets out of LA, he's going to keep getting injured because he's getting overplayed.
Yeah, exactly.
You need to get him on a team that has solid backup for him so he can actually rest.
Yeah.
Okay, then I have a suggestion. It will cost a lot, and I know Victor's next 5-letter word when I make this suggestion.
Greed.
Houston.
Yeah. That sounds greedy. Not a bad spot, though. Not a bad spot, though.
I was going to say, imagine Mike Trout in Houston with all the depth that they have.
He's a greed pick, but it's not a bad one.
That's not a greedy pick. That's a correct pick.
That's a greedy pick because they already have so much talent already. He's going to throw it in there. I mean, for all intents and purposes, he can go to Kansas City and do well there, too.
Oh, I think Mike Trout will raise hell at Royal Stadium or Kauffman Stadium. I said Royal Stadium. Damn it.
It's called the K, baby.
I know. I've been in that joint.
The only reason why I am not advocating for Chicago for the South Side because they're not ready.
No, they're not. And they don't have the right people in place.
Exactly. They're not ready for a talent like that right now.
No, they're not. They got a generational talent in Luis Robert who can't stay healthy. And I hate saying that about him because I saw him play down in Winston-Salem.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
As much as I would like to see Trout in that silver and black, they're not ready for that.
They would not take care of him. And Mike's already got 10 years on his legs.
Right.
He already has 10 seasons on his legs. But as far as Seattle goes, Julio Rodriguez, your career is getting wasted. Because ever since the Houston Astros swept them 2 years ago, Seattle has been competitive, but only to a point.
Well, that's the thing. Like I said, they're very streaky. They can catch fire really quickly, and usually in the beginning of the season when everyone's kind of knocking out the ring rust.
Yep.
But somewhere after the All-Star break is when they fall apart.
It wasn't even after the All-Star break. It was before the All-Star break.
I'm just saying normally.
Yeah. It was, and this year it was before the All-Star break when the Astros wiped out that 10-game lead. They did it in a month.
And that's
right after the All-Star break.
That's just a testament also to just how good the Houston Astros are. You can't count them out. No matter what you do, you cannot count them out.
So why do people continue to do so?
Because people
they
don't like. Because to be honest, Houston, for most people, has not been relevant since Nolan Ryan left. Let's just be real. Most people have completely forgotten that Houston was a thing. Now Houston's saying, "Hey, we won 2 years ago, and we won another one, and we want you. We're daring you to stop us."
Well, we will see because the Astros have a big 4-game series coming up beginning tonight against the Baltimore Orioles.
I can't wait for it.
And yours truly will have all 4 of those games beginning tonight with a 7 p.m. pitch time. Let's take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk some football. Kyle Senber will join us at the bottom of the hour. And I have some questions about the 2024 NFL season. Questions that people don't want to ask, but I will. Back in 2 minutes.
Whether it's news, the largest egg producer finds bird flu in chickens at a Texas plant, weather, devastating tornadoes rip through the heart of the United States, inspiration, a breast cancer survivor completed the journey of chemotherapy, and now begins a future one of matrimony or sport. sports. Michael Jordan is shown on a photo with Diddy. LeBron James has a video extolling the virtues of a Diddy party. This has been yet another beating a dead horse presentation. We got you covered. BS3 Network, in association with Comey Media Incorporated, proudly present The Morning Shift with Cole Johnson. Live every weekday at 8 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Central.
Do a TED Talk, but I don't have anything to talk about yet. I'm getting there.
Life is for the living. We're not here that long.
You can learn anything you want to learn without any money spent.
What do I really enjoy? What do I really want out of life?
I am your host, WIZE.
Are you in a life holding pattern? Well, this is for you. Welcome to the Stuck in My Mind podcast. Live every Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday at 4 p.m. Central.
Hey everybody, Snowman here. Looking for the best way to experience live events? Well, SeatGeek has you covered. With just a few taps on your phone, you can find the best seats for concerts, sports, theater, and more. Don't miss out on unforgettable moments. Download the SeatGeek app today and get ready for an experience like no other. Each ticket is vetted for authenticity and ranked on a 1 to 10 scale. And right now, if you sign up and use the code Snowman, you will get $20 off of your first purchase. That's only through the power of SeatGeek, where fans can fan.
Mister, how do you operate this Twitter thing or this Instagram thing or whatever the heck? You're supposed to know all this stuff. Anyway, welcome back to the show.
Welcome back on this Thursday edition of Snowman in the Morning. SIT Morning is the new ID. I have to get everything updated to reflect that. Let's have some fun and let's talk some football. We'll begin in the AFC East. And I have one question for each team. We'll get to as many as we can. Can the Jets be competitive?
With A-Rod, I doubt it. Loved A-Rod when he was in Green Bay, but in New York, I don't know.
I'm gonna say sorry, Mr. McCarthy, but I don't see it because
I see 5-12.
You see, with the same situation.
I'm sorry.
You see the same situation with Mike Trout as you do with Aaron Rodgers.
He can't stay healthy,
right? And especially after a horrific injury, after 4 plays.
That's through the season.
And
I hate saying that about. No, I don't hate saying that about A-Rod. He brought it on himself.
And who do you have backing him up?
Nobody.
Yeah.
Nobody.
Sounds right.
He's got no one. For the Miami Dolphins, can Tua lead them to a division title?
No, not in his current condition.
No, I think after, again, going back to the concussions, that really put a hampering on his progression as a football player.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't know if he's going to be able to do it. Now, could they get streaky in the middle of the season? Possibly. Could they get a spot in the playoffs? Possibly. I'm not going to throw that out just yet. But as far as them like going deep, nah.
I don't see Miami making the playoffs. I'm sorry. Too many holes to fill. And I know I'm going to get punched by Pizzle. I'm going to get a Pizzle punch.
Pizzle punch.
I'm going to get a Pizzle punch. I already know I'm going to get a Pizzle punch. But it's when I talked with him, we agreed the same thing. Yes, Tua played all 16 last year.
He did.
And Charles Adderley, welcome to you and thanks for stopping by. He played all 16 last year, led the league in passing yards. There are 5 reasons I don't see Tua and the Dolphins getting to or through the playoffs.
Okay.
Who's in front of them?
Again, question of the day. What a line at?
Who's in front of them? That's why I don't see it.
And they have to be a lot more careful because of how many times he's gotten hit in the head. So they have to be more stout than most, which we're not seeing.
To the New England Patriots, can they win a game?
They may eke out a win against the Bills, but no.
They ain't beating the Bills.
I mean, usually they have good luck against the Bills.
Even given the dilapidated state that the Buffalo Bills are in, they ain't beating the Bills.
They usually get lucky against the Bills.
They're not going to get lucky this year against the Bills. Matter of fact, if they don't if the Bills don't sweep the Patriots this year, I'll owe you a pizza.
Okay.
And I'm totally willing to make that bet because I owe you a pizza anyway.
Now, here's the question: like, are you expecting for the New England Patriots to go 0-16?
14-3.
Oh, 3 ties. 3 ties.
Who are those ties going to be against?
That's what I'm wondering.
2 will be against the Jets, and 1 will be against the Dolphins.
You know, we got all this NFL talk, but you know what's approaching.
We're not touching it yet.
Next week, Brian, come on.
What?
College football.
I ain't touching that yet. And I have a reason.
We need deets.
I have a reason. Not only we need deets, I got a couple other people on the back burner we're going to bring on. To the top of the division, can the Buffalo Bills do it a 4th straight year?
If Josh Allen stays healthy and he can prove that he didn't need Diggs, yeah, sure.
Yeah, that's a default division win.
Yeah, I don't know if it's Josh.
That's different. To the North Division, who the hell is the quarterback of the Steelers?
It's either going to be
Keith Sweat has the answer.
Russ intercepted, and it's picked off by Malcolm Butler, or
God,
or it's going to be Justin Fields. And I honestly, the weirdest thing I will ever say, I think Justin Fields is going to be the better quarterback in Pittsburgh.
He's the younger one. Yeah, I agree. That's it. I agree with that too. Maybe no worse than Russell Wilson.
It's Pittsburgh.
Here's the thing.
Pittsburgh.
At least Pittsburgh has a line.
Well, and also, Pittsburgh has a line. They have a D line, and they also got at least George Pickens for him to throw to.
My thoughts later. Can the Ravens keep up top the division?
Depends on how week 1 goes.
I'm going to say yes, because they now have a verifiable running back to take some load off of Lamar Jackson.
And Derrick Henry.
Yep. Hasn't been able to stop Mr. Henry yet. I don't see that happening now.
2 for 1. Can the Browns and Bengals stay healthy enough to finish 17 games?
No.
I'm
calling it. Week 3, Joe Burrow out for the season.
Is Joe Burrow and Deshaun Watson?
True. And
we're going to see Jake Browning for a 2nd year in a row.
I expect neither one of them to finish the season. I expect neither one of those quarterbacks, Deshaun Watson nor Joe Burrow, to finish the season. Neither one. All right. To the AFC South. And this is interesting. Who wins the division?
Texans. CJ Stroud is just that good.
Yeah. I want to see
that. I wouldn't mind seeing the Texans win that division, but they're going to have a problem come week 1.
That's it. I said, speaking of Mr. Spivey, there could be a small regression from CJ, and that's why I'm putting on.
I have the Colts winning that division.
I did too. I'm going to say I'm looking towards the Colts.
I have the Colts winning that division and the Texans snatching the wild card. And not because of any regression from CJ Stroud, although I do expect a little regression coming. I just see the Colts rising to the top of that division with a healthy Anthony Richardson.
Well, that's the whole point. The division goes down to whether AR can stay healthy.
I believe he can. And next week, Matt Taylor will join me to talk all things Colts, getting ready for week 1, which is September 8th. And guess who they play? The Houston Texans. Wouldn't you know it?
Like the 2 games I think that will be to watch this week 1 is Ravens Chiefs, AFC Championship rematch, and Colts Texans.
Well, the Ravens Chiefs rematch ain't gonna be much of a rematch because it's in Kansas City. Colts and Texans are gonna go down to the wire at Lucas Oil. And I just might be in the house watching that thing. We will see. To the AFC West. Can the Chargers challenge the Chiefs?
No.
I think the only team that the Chiefs, and this is as a Chiefs fan, lose to this year from the AFC West, it's either going to be the Raiders or it's going to be the Broncos. We go 2-0.
Hell no. Y'all
I'm giving Hop his props for his team.
I'm not.
I'd say probably Raiders.
Until I see different, no. The Chiefs are sweeping that division again.
I'd say the Raiders could get lucky.
Listen, Darian Hopkins is going to punch me in the mouth for this, but the Kansas City Chiefs are going to beat the hell out of that division.
I'd say that the Raiders get lucky and snatch 1.
It ain't going to be against the Chiefs.
It will.
It'll be against the Chargers.
Well, the Chargers haven't washed the stench of Brandon Staley off them yet, so it doesn't matter.
Now they have to wash the stench of Jim Harbaugh off of them. Next.
So the Chargers are a non-factor, but the Raiders, after seeing what I've seen from the draft, I kind of like their chances.
I don't. 3-14 at best.
No.
Okay, fine. 10-7. I'll give them 10-7.
Yeah,
but they ain't winning that. They ain't winning that division, and they're not beating the Chiefs.
Well, no one's going to win a division except for the Chiefs. They have it on lock, but we're talking about who can get at least 1 game off the Chiefs. I say it's the Raiders more than the Broncos.
Nah. I like the look. I like the way the Broncos are proceeding, but it's Sean Payton.
Exactly why I said
he has to tutor Bo Nix in the art of his offense.
I said I'm leaning more towards the Raiders and the Broncos.
I see the Chiefs sweeping that division for a 3rd straight year.
We lost to the Raiders last year at Christmas.
That's right.
See?
Because you coughed the ball up twice in your own territory on back-to-back plays.
Exactly.
Okay.
That's why I say Raiders have probably the shot, because we're going to take a step back and fuck around and find out. A little ring around the rosy play into an interception. That's what's going to happen.
Oh, no.
That's why I'm giving Darian Hopkins the benefit of the doubt.
Where's... Where is it? Where is it? And if doggone it, where is it? Yeah. Y'all heard it. Okay.
The NFC South, only one thing we can say about it. Trash.
I don't even think trash even.
Do we want anyone to win the NFC South?
No.
Saints, mainly.
We want the NFC South to go away.
Do we even care about the NFC South?
No.
Yes, because last year an NFC South team beat the Philadelphia Eagles.
But that is true.
But everybody else beat the damn Eagles the second half of the year. Next question.
Sirianni.
Yep.
I am going to say if I'm going to choose a team to win that division, it's going to be the Saints. I'd rather not have Kirk 2 Chainz Cousins winning that division. Bryce Young ain't going to do anything when he's got no O-line and no weapons. And Baker Mayfield is not him.
Baker Mayfield is Baker Mayfield.
Baker Mayfield is Baker Mayfield.
And Mike Evans, he's washed.
Just like Keenan Allen. Let's get to the NFC North.
Lord,
do we see anyone beating the Lions?
No.
There's going to be 2 teams fighting for playoff spots in that division: the Lions and the Packers.
Yeah. I'll say I give a little bit of a nod towards Green Bay. I think they can probably snatch.
They just need a better O-line. That's really all Green Bay needs is an O-line. They got a great young wide receiver core. Jordan Love is looking to be what he was supposed to be for Green Bay, another elite quarterback for the Packers.
Mm-hmm.
Shut up, fool.
And I got no argument.
Even though I'm still saying Lions all the way, I can see the Packers sneaking in.
Sneaking in like a wild card, 7th seed and beating you again.
I can
probably.
I can see that.
I'd see another 2-7 Cowboys, Packers, and the Packers winning again.
Probably
in Dallas.
I'm not even going to deny it.
To the East Division, and I have a triple play of questions for the East Division.
Oh,
okay.
God.
The first one is: do the Cowboys make the playoffs?
Pass.
You know what? Because of their additions to the O-line, with Cooper Beebe being one of the biggest additions to that O-line, they have a shot at playoffs. I'm not saying they're guaranteed. I say a shot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We have a good shot.
I say no.
We do have a good shot. We do have we do have more receivers. The defense is starting to get better. Yes, we do. The defense is getting better.
Well, if you don't re-sign CeeDee Lamb, then you don't got any receivers. Well, I'll give you Keandre Turpin, but that's it.
You know what? Kevontae Turpin's a returner who tried to play receiver and then it got blown to smithereens by Dre Greenlaw.
But that's against the 49ers.
That's why I brought that up. Second question about the East. Can the Giants actually compete?
Ooh, that's a good question because they did just release Daniel Jones, didn't they?
Yeah,
yes, they did. And they screwed up in releasing Nathan Rourke.
It's a tough.
Tyrod Taylor would be the starting quarterback.
Yeah.
Oh Lord.
We'll move on. Third and final question about the East. Can the Redskins surprise and win that division? I say yes.
Yes.
Look
at Jaden Daniels.
Yep.
I say, and I'm calling for it right now. I'm calling for the Redskins to win the East.
And the thing is, you got to realize, Scary Terry now has a quarterback that can throw the ball.
Yeah, not Dumpster Pelican Master Sam Howell.
Not Nevada alumni Sam Howell.
Final question. It's to the West.
Okay.
NFC West.
Do the 49ers sweep that division? I say yes.
Yeah. I can't even deny.
There's no shot that the 49ers don't sweep the division.
That's all I need to know.
Yeah. I mean, you can
if they do lose a game, the only team they would even remotely even get close to losing, if they had 13 different injuries across their team, would be to the Seattle Seahawks.
Oh, that would hurt.
We're not losing to this
I would say the Rams. I was going to say the Rams.
You're not okay. Love Matthew Stafford with all my heart. He's a great quarterback. He's kind of washed now.
36 years old.
He's washed though.
But he's 36 years old. I love Puka Nacua. I do. I love Cooper Kupp. Loved him since Eastern Washington. But they don't have Stetson Bennett throwing to him. They got Matthew Stafford throwing to him.
It's better than what Seattle has.
Watching that Rams-Cowboys preseason game with both Stetson Bennett and Trey Lance throwing, I don't like Stetson Bennett one bit.
I mean, it was watching throwing footballs at their team. It was two turds.
We'll continue this conversation after we kick Kyle out of here, but since he's knocking on the door... time for an auction, and here's Kyle Senra to join us. Kyle, how are you, man?
I'm doing great. I was listening. That was a pretty fun conversation.
Oh, we got
in the chat. I assume Sam Hell's not starting that Seahawks upset.
No.
No. No.
The closest game for the 49ers, and we've been saying this since the schedule release, will be Week 7 against the Chiefs.
And that'll be the first to 150 points.
And the crazy thing is, someone said, "Oh, why do the 49ers have such a tough schedule?" I'm like, tough schedule?
Tough schedule?
The
toughest opponent we got on the schedule is Kansas City.
Right.
And I'm predicting out loud, we're going to see them twice. The second time will be in February.
The Niners just got on easy mode.
Like this year for the Chiefs and 49ers, it's going to be like playing Madden on a rookie.
Yeah, I do agree.
We'll talk more of that at the second half of the show. Dealer's choice today, and Kyle and Mr. Senra decided to throw an auction at me. And I'll throw here's the first subject: preparation and flexibility. The floor is yours, sir.
So yeah, auction drafting is my favorite form of playing fantasy football, and I've done that in dynasty leagues where you start with an auction draft and then you just run the league as a normal dynasty league would. You keep all your players every year. I've done auction drafts and just redraft single season. Okay, and that's probably what a lot of people their first experiences will be. I've also done salary cap and contract leagues, so the what you win in the auction matters because that's contracts on those players for several years. You've got a salary cap to respect, but that's pretty much the principle of any auction is that every team, instead of having a snake draft order and a bunch of draft picks, they have a bunch of money, a bunch of salary, and there's a salary cap for the total roster, and you basically it depends on the type of draft. You can have a slow auction where the player you typically wouldn't do them this time of year because you'll need like 24 hours or 12 hours on the highest bid. The clock resets, so it's you typically do those early in the off season, and it's a long period. So you nominate like 12 players a day or 10, however many people are in the league. But most auctions are fast auction where it's a 10-second timer to nominate a player. So there's still a snake order, but that's just the order of players nominating. But yes, it's all about how much money you're willing to spend on every player. I've heard some people say they want a budget per position. I'm going to spend this much on this position. I've done that in the past, and I haven't been as successful. I found the best success is preparation, doing all the work, and figuring out an ideal dollar amount for every player. I've got a system that I create. I'll shout out the Absolute Auction podcast because they've coined the term that I've just called an auction sheet or draft sheet, but they call it a par sheet, and it's essentially what they think par is for every player. And can you get as many of those players under par like a golfer, many birdies as you can pick up and as many cheap contracts as you can will help.
Right.
The idea is to try and figure out how much you're willing to spend on the top players, because that's where I find it's really important. What's your max for any singular player? And when I create a par sheet, really the players are secondary to just I calculate a formula, and whoever is the best player, what should that player go for, and what should the second player go for? To get an entire list for every roster spot there is in the league, and it's you're calculating the total cap space of every team and putting that together for this spreadsheet, and then you put the player tiers in once you have these prices, and then those player tiers that really helps. Because the way the par sheet ends up originally, it's step down. Like the most expensive player is slightly more than the second, slightly more than the third. It's in equal increments. When you add the players in your draft rankings and tiers, that's when you really create those price separations. Oh, everyone in this tier, I'll lower them to the lowest amount. And you go through that to basically put as much to the top ends as you can. So what's the most I can spend on these top players while still maintaining a good budget and being able to win other players that I want and being able to build a solid team. And that's where the preparation comes in. But the flexibility is anything can happen in an auction. You have to be ready to pivot, understand that max amount might not even be close to what it is to get those top tier players. And you might have to surpass that to get into a certain tier, and understanding, okay, if I overspend even on what I prescribed originally, then I've got to save that somewhere else and really win those players at a budget. So I find it's the format of fantasy football that to be successful, you have to have probably the most amount of preparation, but it also requires as much, if not more, flexibility than you would in a normal snake draft.
Now, how about some nominations?
So again, the closest thing to it that resembles a snake draft is that every player will get a round of nominations, or will get to nominate once in a round. So again, if it's a 12-team league, you'll every 12 picks, you'll get to nominate a player, and typically that's ordered in a snake draft. So if you're making the 12th nomination, you'll also get to make the 13th nomination. So that's I've heard this again. I think it was at the Absolute Auction podcast. They mentioned you can control two things in an auction: how much choosing to put a bid on a player and choose, I'm going to spend this on a player. You have the control to say yes or no to that. You also control who you get to nominate when it's your turn. And so there's big power in both. So I know some people will not put as much importance on the nomination. And I think there's really, again, you have to be flexible. I've gone into drafts thinking, okay, this is how I'm going to nominate. But then as things happen, okay, I've got to kind of change. But typically I have two main principles. When I'm among the teams with the most money, so that'll mean before I've won my first player, I'm going to be aggressive and nominate the top players on my list, because those are the guys at that point. If I've got the most money, I feel like I'm in a best position to win those players. However, once I've won a couple,
so my daughter just walked in with lunch, and so. Who would you, for an example, who would you nominate?
Well, my first nomination would probably be a Tyreek Hill or a Christian McCaffrey. If I get to my first nomination and those top guys are still on the board and I haven't won any player yet, I'll go for them, because I feel like I've got, if I haven't won anybody, I've got the max amount of money. And maybe other teams haven't won anyone yet either. But at that point, no one can, in theory, outbid me to the max if I really needed to stretch and get one of those guys. So I feel like I'm in the best position. Now, let's say I win a Tyreek Hill pretty early. And then, I've won a couple players. Then I flip to, okay, I'm among the teams with the least amount of money because I've got 2 or 3 key pieces and I've had to spend up for. Now I'll flip to the players I don't really want, but I figure will probably get like a lot of money off the board. And the players I want to will maybe fall later, and when there's less money, and I can get them more easily. So it's all about how much money I have relative to the group, and then I'll go with one of those two principles. If it's the most money, the players I want, I just follow my par sheet. Whoever's the next player up, that's who I want to nominate. When you don't have the most money, that's where it can get really creative. And my favorite thing to do is to empty out a position. I'm gonna every turn, I'm gonna nominate at that position. I'm gonna force money out at that position. And we'll get to the point where no one will then bid on those positions. And that'll, if there's still players I like, I can get them for maybe the minimum or super cheap. The easiest position to do that with is tight end. In a 1 QB league, in theory, you could do it with quarterback. But I find that if you do that, you actually send too many of the elite guys too cheap. And then you kind of get stuck in the suboptimal for, they're cheap as well, but you don't get as much of an advantage. I find a tight end, those, when you send up Sam Laporta, Travis Kelce, Dalton Kincaid, they go for so much money. And if you're willing to, like, I tend to go with teams where if I can't get them and I think they're too expensive, and often are far too expensive for me, I usually just, what's the minimum I can spend on a tight end? And who's the best tight end I can get for that minimum? And the best way to ensure that happens is just go down that order. So my first tight end will typically be whatever's the highest ranked tight end available. And if I can get them for cheap, I'm good there, and then I'll figure out another position. But often what happens is those guys are going for so much that I just keep nominating that tight end, and eventually you might get like an Evan Ingram super cheap, or maybe that next tier of like Freiermuth, Goddard, and Njoku. You get one of them for like $1 or something. So that's kind of my strategy. I think you could do it at running back. Not that you would empty out all the running backs, but the true elite workhorse backs, that's maybe a scarce tier where if you wanted to go approach it like that, and you maybe wanted to just buy one of them, you want to take a 0 RB approach, the best thing would to just nominate those heavy guys early, have a bunch of people spend money there, and then you're kind of saving your money for elite players at the other positions. So I prefer to do it at tight end. I could see it running back. It makes sense. I will say this emptying a position, though, there's one position it doesn't make sense for. That's, I think, our next topic.
Now, you got price enforcing. I don't know how the heck this works. You're the expert. That's why you're here. How does this price enforcing work?
Okay, so I made a mistake. It would be the next topic after this. But for price enforcing, it's a simple fact of, okay, I might not want this player, but they're going for so cheap that I'm going to add money to them thinking they should be going for more expensive. So either I will win them for super cheap. Maybe it's I've already got 2 running backs, but a third elite one comes up and it's okay. Wasn't really planning to spend big on 3 running backs. But if I can get them cheap enough, I will, and I'll spend to the point where I get comfortable. So, okay, that other person wins them, but they don't win them for super cheap.
Right.
So
right.
It's a delicate balance because, again, I have my par sheet set up. I've got what should be an ideal price for every player. And in theory, I want to be pushing players to those max. But then again, back to the flexibility aspect, you have to be careful when you do that. Because at any point, if you're pricing for it, you have to be willing to be stuck with that player. So do it in cases where it matters. If it's like, okay, this is maybe this is a wide receiver 30 or 40 player, and they're going for pretty cheap. They're going for like a wide receiver 60 price. Do I need to price enforce there? I've got my wide receiver core set. I don't really need more depth. I need to focus on other positions. Do I want to get stuck with them? And that's where you might let them go for cheaper than you should, because what kind of impact is that player going to have? If it's a top 20 wide receiver that's going for super cheap, that makes more sense because that, like in theory, those are the players with the bigger impact. Wide receiver 40 going for cheaper than he should probably isn't helping your opponent that much more. Okay, you help them get a good value. You sometimes, you can't get it your way every way. You can't have every of your opponents have to spend too much for players and you get all the players cheap. So eventually at some point, one of your opponents is going to have to get a good contract in auctions. You kind of smile, you look at them, you expect, okay, dude, well done. Way to get a great value player. Even in auctions where I've ended successfully, I've thought, oh man, I bid up for Kelsey, but man, Mark Andrews went for so cheap. Like that guy was really smart because like there was a huge difference there. I would have rather knowing that. So you can at sometimes you just have to accept it though. Like that, like I did an auction recently where that happened where I had Kelsey and I had Andrews. It's not tight end premium. And I really didn't want to spend on both. So I saw the Andrews contract so cheap. I should price enforce here, but I'm just going to let it slide as much. And it'll hurt because that's probably the manager who had the best value contract for a tight end. But sometimes you have to know when to price enforce and when you shouldn't, because if you get stuck with that player and it really messes up your roster construction, that's when things can go wrong. You've got you can control how you're building your team as well. You can control the money you're spending on players and who you nominate. But if you go in with a roster construction idea, you have the full control to try and execute that as best you can and stick to it.
And now the subject the guys have been waiting for: patience at wide receiver. What made you throw this on the list this morning?
So to go with the nomination thing, this would be the one position where if you want to try and empty out a position, this is not the one to do it for. There's just so many good wide receivers, like even down to wide receiver 40, 50, 60 this year. It seems like there's still guys you can be comfortable with. And I've noticed that in the past. This isn't just a this year phenomenon. But what happens in auctions is, the elite players, they tend to go a lot earlier. And when they do, they're going to be priced up so much. And eventually, if an elite player ever falls late in the auction, they'll go, depends how late enough, they might go for cheaper than the others. Now, if you're the last player in a tier, you might go for more than everyone else in the tier because, this is the last chance you have to get a top 3 quarterback. This is the last chance you have to get one of those top 5 wide receivers. Typically, the last of, say, like Tyreek, CD, Chase, Jefferson, and Amon-Ra, whichever player goes last in the nomination order, that'll usually be the most expensive just because for the first 4, there's always, okay, I could go. It's too high. Okay, I'll just try and get the next one. I'll try and get the next one. When it gets to that last guy, though, there is no next one, and that's when you see some massive bidding. So, like, let's say Amon-Ra is wide receiver 5 for a lot of people. If he's the last one to be nominated, he might actually go as the wide receiver 1. So, but knowing that later in the auction, players eventually tend to go for cheaper, and because there's so many good receivers, it's inevitable that receivers will fall late in the auction. And that's some of the best value I've seen in drafts. Just the one I did recently. I got Jaden Reed pretty cheap as like my wide receiver 4 on the team. And so it's, I was able to go in that one. It's a salary cap contract league. So there's some future years on it, but for especially the first 3 players, I got my QB1, RB1, and tight end 1 in the rankings. So if anyone wants to go check out previous episodes of Snowman in the Morning, you'll know who those are. But of those 3 players, it's funny, those 2 teams were just talked about recently. Once I centered around that, I was able to still build great depth at wide receiver. Devontae Adams, Michael Pittman, Zay Flowers, Jaden Reed, all on multi-year contracts. So I not only have them this year, but I've got them as kind of a long-term base for my wide receiver position. It's super flex, and I got Jared Goff fairly cheap at QB2 because he went late enough. Late enough, and those some of those quarterbacks going later were certainly a big value relative to the first 18 quarterbacks that went. And then I also got 1-year contracts on some older guys, DeAndre Hopkins, Tyler Lockett, constantly undervalued. I've taken Tyler Lockett so much in drafts this year. Such an undervalued player, I think.
Yeah.
Curtis Samuel might be the wide receiver one in the Bills, and I was able to get them on just fairly cheap 1-year contracts because it was super late enough in the auction. So one thing is to never really panic at wide receiver. Oh man, I don't have any wide receivers at this point, but you look at that list and there's still enough guys, and later on, instead of maybe just focusing on one, you might be able to get several of those guys you're targeting. So in that draft, I could have gone up for a CeeDee Lamb or Amon-Ra. I think had the highest. I think Amon-Ra ended up being that case in this draft where he actually had the highest average salary over. I think it was only a 3-year contract. In this particular league, that was kind of key because a lot of those early receivers and quarterbacks went on 4-year contracts. So if someone wanted to double up and get a second one of those players, they typically had to do it on a 3-year contract. And if you're stretching out the contract longer, you can lower the cap hit. So Amon-Ra on a 3-year deal is counting more against the cap per season than a Chase or a Lamb over a 4-year contract. So rather than go for one of those guys, I felt that I got 4, I think in my dynasty rankings, 4 top 30 receivers. And that was, I think, just again, being patient at receiver. For a while, I just had those 3 players, the QB1, RB1, and tight end 1. I didn't have any receivers, and eventually a guy like Adams fell. And I especially have him high in redraft rankings. I mean, he was in the top 10 receivers if anyone wants to go back to that episode. So that sort of kick-started off, and I was getting receivers all around that price. Jaden Reed, super cheap too. So you can always be patient at wide receiver. And thank you everyone for your patience through this auction draft talk.
Man, and I'm going to do something I never thought I'd do. I'm going to run a fantasy league. And all this advice that I'm seeing and hearing from Kyle Senra is going to help you guys. We'll have details out next week. Kyle Senra, our fantasy football guru, joining us here on the program as he does every Thursday. Kyle, I thank you very much, my friend. Great talk as always. We'll talk next week.
Thank you, Snowman.
I've never heard me and Victor be so quiet for an entire segment in a while.
You know why? Because I was sitting here with a notebook in front of me taking notes.
I have a notepad too.
I've got 3 of them. That's why he brings the subjects, he brings the knowledge, and I'm a student.
And
I am a student. I ask no questions because he's done this a lot longer than I. I'm just a student doing all this.
Yeah, all right? With the whole wide receiver thing, one of the guys that I've gotten every year was Harry McLaurin. Now he's going to be a bit harder to get.
Yeah. Because he had a couple of breakout years. And McLaurin, from the times I've watched people play fantasy before, has won people championships. Harry McLaurin.
That price enforcing, that was that's some Shark Tank type stuff. I'm like,
yes, it is. Yes, it is.
And then there is a tight end that I think is probably going to break out this year because of how much this QB used their tight end in Minnesota. Kyle Pitts from Atlanta.
Okay.
Because of how much Kirk used his tight ends over in Minnesota, I think Kyle Pitts is going to get a lot more receptions this year. He's going to be able to. He's going to be able to learn to block besides being a skinny tight end. He's going to turn into that sleeper for your fantasy team. So
I wouldn't be surprised.
Look at Kyle Pitts. Give him a shot.
I wouldn't be surprised. I would not be surprised at all. I look, I was a student, okay?
Yeah.
I'm sitting here being a student with the nerd cap on and everything.
We were in class.
Yes.
You were talking class.
We were in. No, you don't talk or interrupt the professor in class. I don't interrupt the professor in class. I just throw the subjects out there and he just goes.
Right.
And I love it. Folks, big baseball series tonight as the Houston Astros go to Baltimore to take on the Baltimore Orioles. We start our broadcast at 7 o'clock with the first pitch at 7:08 Eastern. We're getting back to football. And when we come back, the NFC West is the topic of discussion. And from the way the fellas think along with me, won't be much of a discussion. Back in the deuce.
Whether it's news, the largest egg producer finds bird flu in chickens at a Texas plant, weather, devastating tornadoes rip through the heart of the United States, inspiration, a breast cancer survivor completed the journey of chemotherapy and now begins a future one of matrimony, or sports. Michael Jordan is shown on a photo with Diddy. LeBron James has a video extolling the virtues of a Diddy party. This has been yet another beating a dead horse presentation. We got you covered. BS3 Network, in association with Comey Media Incorporated, proudly present The Morning Shift with Cole Johnson. Live every weekday at 8 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Central.
I want to do a TED Talk, but I don't have anything to talk about yet. I'm getting there.
Life is for the living. We're not here that long.
You can learn anything you want to learn without any money spent.
What do I really enjoy? What do I really want out of life?
I am your host, WIZE.
Are you in a life-holding pattern? Well, this is for you. Welcome to the Stuck in My Mind podcast. Live every Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday at 4 p.m. Central.
Hey everybody, Snowman here. Looking for the best way to experience live events? Well, SeatGeek has you covered. With just a few taps on your phone, you can find the best seats for concerts, sports, theater, and more. Don't miss out on unforgettable moments. Download the SeatGeek app today and get ready for an experience like no other. Each ticket is vetted for authenticity and ranked on a 1 to 10 scale. And right now, if you sign up and use the code Snowman, you will get $20 off of your first purchase. That's only through the power of SeatGeek, where fans can fan.
Mister, how do you operate this Twitter thing or this Instagram thing or whatever the heck? You're supposed to know all this stuff. Anyway, welcome back to the show.
SIT Morning is the ID, the brand new ID that you need for all the socials of Snowman in the Morning, along with the droid and Vikala. Snowman here with you on this Thursday. And our topic of discussion is the NFC West, which I had planned for a few days now. I'll ask, can anybody beat the 49ers in the NFC West?
No.
Again, 13 injuries at least.
Yeah.
Why 13?
It's gotta be Brock.
Because you got at least 13 star players on that 49 roster.
Yeah. It's like it's gotta be a mixture of Brock, CMC, George Kittle,
Warner,
and
Fred Warner,
Ayuk, and Debo. Those guys have to be out.
Yeah, Bosa too.
Yeah, and we're also forgetting Dre Greenlaw.
Greenlaw. Other than that, it's a clean sweep because I'm not seeing anything from Seattle.
And Dre Greenlaw has his replacement for this year while he heals. His name is Leonard Floyd, which means Aaron Rodgers is going to have nightmares.
Greed.
What?
I remember you told me about this. About this pickup. Floyd.
Oh, Leonard Floyd.
The Leonard Floyd pickup. And what did I say? Greed.
That is not greed. That was necessity.
That's total greed.
That was not greed, damn it.
It's greed.
You shut up, droid.
Why? Because we got Xavier Worthy, which is possible that he's faster than Hill?
Yes. You got, how did an old friend of mine put it? You got your nerve talking about greed. Y'all snatched Xavier Worthy out of Texas, who I've loved watching play at Texas. So to give Patrick Mahomes that kind of weapon, that just ain't fair. But thank the Bills for messing up.
It's always the Bills.
The Bills messed up.
It's always the Bills.
The Bills were looking at Xavier Worthy and they didn't draft him.
Because you know what? They're already having PTSD with Stephon Diggs. Give them a break.
They messed up.
It's like when they say, it always happens to Craig Neal. It always happens to the Buffalo Bills.
You know
what? I would.
The Buffalo Bills just messed up. The Buffalo Bills are just as messed up as these two words: wide right.
Oof. That's rude.
You know what? And that has messed the Buffalo Bills franchise up for life.
Yes, it has. That is so rude.
I can't. I can't take it anymore. Wide right.
Wide right.
Wide right. How bad is it that you're identified by two words? Florida State.
Hey, I mean,
what?
I know I've been beaten up on the Falcons, but I gotta say, 28-3.
That's a score.
Exactly.
And that's
what happened?
2 words.
Well, what happened? Same thing.
The freaking Patriots. That's what happened. The freaking Patriots. I'm glad I didn't bet on that Super Bowl.
I'm
so glad.
Man, I'm happy I'd never bet on the Falcons in the first place.
Exactly.
You can't bet on the Falcons.
You can't.
If John Elway didn't teach you anything in Super Bowl 33, why would you bet on the Falcons in Super Bowl 51? Why? I wouldn't have. You can't. Listen, the Falcons are the same team that held a 17-0 lead in the 2012 NFC Championship game against my 49ers, and they effed around and lost 28-24.
They sure did.
I remember that. I remember that game because I scared everybody in the apartment complex where I was staying after the Niners took the lead. Thank you, Frank Gore.
But
Frank Gore.
We all know that Patriots Rams Super Bowl should have never happened.
Yeah.
If there's any more cheating allegations that the NFL can't beat, it's that last NFC Championship with the Saints and Rams. That was PI, and everyone knows it.
Oh, the receiver got knocked down. But the Saints messed up. They left 28 points on the table in that game.
That's true, too.
Period. The Saints left at least 20 points on the table in that NFC Championship game. It wouldn't have come to that if they take advantage of their opportunities and stop letting the Rams get back into the game. Period. Point blank. End of ball game.
Like they just kept letting them back in and letting them back in. It's like
they led that game 20-0.
A classic case of playing with your food.
Do you understand me? They led that game 20-0. And they blew it.
Like I said, a classic case of playing with your food.
You have Drew Brees throwing the ball all over the place and Saints receivers running free.
And
yet on 3 occasions, you can only come up with field goals. You blew it. You blew it. Look, New Orleans, that was your best chance for a second Super Bowl, and you blew it. Now you ain't never going back. You're not getting back to the Super Bowl. Not with Derek Drive My Car as your quarterback. That ain't going to happen. And speaking of teams that don't have a shot at the Super Bowl, even given their quarterback, let's talk about Joe Burrow. Who thinks he's Eminem, for God's sakes?
Oh God! So you have Eminem.
You got Eminem Burrow that's going to get buried under that beat up offensive line.
You got Kirk 2 Chainz Cousins.
Yeah. You listen, I love you, Burrow, but you're not going to survive 10 years. Somehow he survived. What's this? His 5th year now?
Not with that line. He may have to move.
Somebody fact check me on this. This is his 5th year, is it not? I believe this is his 5th year. This is his 4th or his 5th. I believe this is his 5th season. Somebody fact check me on that.
2019 was his last year in LSU, right?
One more time.
I think it was 2019 was his LSU year last year.
Yeah.
So yeah, it'd be about approximately 4 or 5 years.
It's 4 currently.
Do y'all expect him to get back to the Super Bowl?
No.
With the line that's in front of him?
No, not with that line. He's gonna have to
get a specific. Get the sensor ready.
You know what? Let it rip. Let it rip. I don't care. Let it rip.
He's
about 3 to 4 words. Burrow had my ass.
You know what? I'm not going to argue.
As long as the Chiefs are in the AFC, the Bengals aren't going back to the Super Bowl. Period. The end.
Sorry, Tom Grossi. The kitty will not go meow.
Neither. None of those cat teams are going to do anything this year.
Panthers.
Jaguars.
Lions will.
Wires.
Lions, it has the best shot.
Yeah.
But are they going to win a Super Bowl? No.
Hell no.
Not when they make the same dumb decision they made last time.
Dan Gamble.
Dan Gamble. I hope he went to
damn Gamble.
I hope he went somewhere for his gambling issues because he made some of the dumbest gambles that game.
Look, I did that game.
I was with you.
This is his 5th. This is indeed his 5th year. You were with me, Victor. We both were in shock when Campbell rolled the dice, not once, but twice. In the second half.
You're close to the end zone, but you
make
get stopped.
you turn either one of those possessions into points, like a field goal, perhaps, and these were makeable field goals.
They were right down the goal line. One that was right on the goal line.
You turn any of those into points, and you have a 3-possession game.
Either you might even have a game where we're talking the Lions going to Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
And
listen to these numbers
by
for
the Chiefs, but
listen to these numbers for Burrow.
Okay.
He took 32 sacks in 2020, 51, which led the league in 2021, 41 in 22, and before he was injured for the remainder of the year, 24 in 2023. Which would have been a 40-sack year.
Okay, think about that.
He took 24 sacks in 10 games.
24 sacks in 10 games. Think about that. Like, how much do you think the body can handle? Because you got to remember, a sack is not just, a recorded stat. Mm-hmm. That is added punishment to the body of the quarterback.
Just ask Dak Prescott.
Just ask Tua Tagovailoa.
Tua, Dak,
Matt
Gino.
Stafford.
Watson,
Deshaun Watson, Justin Fields,
sacked out of the NFL. Period.
Justin Fields,
another time. Justin Fields, Russell Wilson,
who got sacked numerous times, had to run for his life.
The team that I know is not going to do well, but I just want them to do well because of specific players on their team. Is the Atlanta Falcons. I know they're not going to do anything with Kirk 2 Chainz cousin throwing. But I just love B. John Robinson. I love Drake London.
I love
Kyle Pitt.
Robinson, London, Kyle Pitt.
Collins.
That defense is shaped up, but I'm sorry, the quarterback position gives me pause.
I have no sympathy, but I can understand that. Those are some good guys.
I have no sympathy for the Atlanta Falcons.
I don't either. Because again, You started a quarterback controversy that you did not need.
They should have just drafted Michael Penix Jr.
Thank you.
And be done.
Use the offseason to get some wide receivers. Use the offseason to get a better offensive line.
You know what? How about this? If Kirk Cousins gets injured, I'll give the Falcons a chance.
If Kirk Cousins gets injured, I'm going to laugh.
I will too.
I give them no chance whatsoever. They have
I'll
the
laugh
best
and
shot.
give them a chance. I'll laugh and give them a chance.
They have the best shot of winning that division by default. Okay?
Yes.
Because you sure as hell can't trust Bryce Young. You sure as hell can't trust Derek Carr. And don't get me started on Baker Mayfield.
Apple Turner
Mayfield.
Baker's best years, coincidentally, where were they? In Cleveland.
Yeah, they were in Cleveland.
Wrong. Baker's best years were not in Cleveland.
LA.
No. Baker's best years were in Norman, Oklahoma.
Oh, we're not talking college. We're talking NFL.
Let's not talk about that, because remember the Bosa celebration.
Oh, I know. And then Bosa whipped his ass 3 times on Monday Night Football.
We're just talking about strictly NFL.
I know. That's why I said the statement that I said. He hasn't had a good year in the NFL. His best year.
Again, that's exactly the same. You could say the exact same thing for Tua.
Yeah.
Yep. Until he got injured at South Carolina.
You could say the same thing for Joe Burrow. You could say the same thing about basically any young quarterback currently in the league.
That's true.
I have a very controversial statement, and we'll close up shop with this because I got a lot of cleaning to do, and my daughter is here, and she'll yell at me if I don't do this. We'll close up shop with this. The most controversial. You know what? Let's. How about the most controversial takes we can have before the NFL season begins? And I'll begin with Victor.
Most controversial.
Mm-hmm.
We might see a resurgence of Deshaun Watson. Might is the operative word.
Don't make me choke on my drink.
You said controversial. That's what I'm coming up with.
Okay. I'll back it up by saying this. This is Deshaun Watson's final year.
That's not really controversial. That's just true.
I was gonna say, yeah. That was kind of that's probably more believable than what I thought.
Okay. I'll give you that. Give me another one, Victor.
Let's see. Another controversial statement.
Mm-hmm.
The Saints may have a shot at the South. I don't know why, but I just don't necessarily trust Atlanta.
He feels it in his bones.
I just don't.
I trust no one in that division.
I don't either, but if I'm taking like the less
what
of
if
all
Kirk
the
gets
evils,
injured? What if Kirk gets injured? Would you trust the Falcons to win it?
No, because they're probably. I would say no, because I don't think. I don't think the Falcons are smart.
I trust the Falcons to win it because they're putting the keys to the offense in the hands of a guy that can actually run the doggone offense and is young enough to do it. I have nothing against Kirk 2 Chainz Cousins. I don't. I have nothing against him. Okay.
We just like to make fun of him.
Here's the thing. Are the Falcons smart enough to half the load and give some of that work towards Michael Penix? Or are they?
Well, to be fair, like I look at it like this, Victor. They're putting Michael Penix, a rookie, behind a veteran quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
Right. That's true.
It's the same thing that they did for Patrick Mahomes. They put Patty Mahomes behind Alex Smith. This is a smart play by the Falcons. Most people might not like it, but it's true.
And it's a very smart play.
It's a smart play.
It's a very smart play, especially given the fact he gave him $180 million.
It's smart play if done correctly. The only reason why I have pause for this is because I don't know if the Falcons are smart enough to actually have him take some of the snaps towards let's say Kirk 2 Chainz Cousins has a resurgence. He does extremely well. Are they going to give some of those other snaps to Penix so that he get acclimated?
You don't need those other snaps though, unless you know you're going to win that week. I think the big thing for Penix is just using that training and the practice time he gets with Kirk Cousins to learn from Kirk and, get better. And then by the time, Kirk is out of Atlanta, Michael Penix can take over that offense like he never left.
I hope so.
Yeah,
I hope so.
That would be a great situation for Atlanta.
I hope so because I do like Michael Penix. I like what I've seen from him. I'm just afraid of what.
I have a few controversial statements. Very controversial. Aaron Rodgers will only play 3 snaps.
He'll go from 4 to 3.
And then Leonard Floyd will snap his leg again.
Oh, God. I can't see a lie to be found there, unfortunately, because it is the Jets. And the Jets have always had problems with the offensive line. So, yeah, and Rodgers is not the spring chicken he used to be.
No,
he's now a cooked chicken.
When he used to kill everybody.
He's now a cooked chicken.
When he absolutely used to destroy everybody.
Namely the Chicago Bears.
Namely the Bears.
But A-Rod is not as mobile as he used to be.
I have another controversial statement.
Okay.
CMC gets a 2,000-1,000 season.
That's academic, though.
I have a controversial one, and it involves the AFC North.
Talk to me.
The Pittsburgh Steelers, if Russ gets injured, the Pittsburgh Steelers will be able to compete with the AFC North.
Where's the button I'm looking?
You're trusting Justin Fields.
Where's the button?
I'd rather trust Justin Fields with that Steelers offense than trust Russell intercepted at the goal line by Malcolm Butler Wilson.
To either one of those quarterbacks, I say,
bitch, please.
You know what? Pittsburgh would be better telling them both hit the road and don't you come back no more. They should never have gotten rid of Kenny Pickett.
That's what I'm saying. Kenny Pickett is like so just chalked terribly upon. He's not that bad. It's just he was misused by everybody.
Why Kenny Pickett failed? Matt Canada.
I was gonna say blame Canada.
Blame Canada. Matt Canada is the reason Kenny Pickett failed.
Yeah, Matt Canada was trash.
They had, and now the Steelers have Arthur freaking Smith as their offensive coordinator.
I'd love to see the Browns get it.
Tell me how that is going to work in Pittsburgh.
You know what I would love to see, just because I would love the mutually assured destruction. The Cleveland Browns get a head coach in Brandon Staley, and their offensive coordinator is Matt Canada. I would love to see that for a season.
Wait, hold on. Who's the Texans coach? D'Amico Ryans, right?
Yes.
And he got robbed of Coach of the Year, right?
Yes.
I say, here's another controversial statement. The Texans, well, Brian's missus is not going to like this one. The Texans win the AFC South by a landslide.
Oh, by a landslide.
All right. Then I'll return the favor. The Colts will beat up the Texans twice and claim the division.
Like, I like how AR is looking. I like how CJ's looking. It's just, I like more of like what Tank Dell has to offer. What, I would say Stephon Diggs, but that's not true. I'd be lying through my teeth if I said I like Stephon Diggs.
With this, as fun as we're going to see Mahomes and Purdy go at it, we're going to have even more fun seeing CJ and AR go at it twice.
True.
100%.
Because each of those games, there's going to be 1,000 yards of offense.
Yeah. That's going
to be
well. The Colts defense definitely has the upper hand over the Texans.
Yeah, the Colts defense has the upper hand. Very, very true. The Texans defense is nothing to sneeze at either. But it's just when those two teams get together and they're fully healthy, I want to see 1,500 yards of offense.
And that's the best part, Brian. You're going to be fully healthy week 1.
Right. And that's what frightens me. I have a controversial statement. Considering JJ's in the chat with us, and JJ, listen carefully. The Eagles will barely make the playoffs.
You know what? I will agree with that.
And I truly mean barely.
That is
they are going to completely misuse Saquon Barkley.
Yep,
Jalen Hurts is not what he was.
The same way they misused
DeAndre Swift.
Thank you. That's the fellow I'm looking for. The same way they misused DeAndre Swift.
Jalen Hurts is not what he used to be. That O-line is a lot weaker without Jason Kelsey.
All right, I got a few words about
if that comes to fruition,
Jalen. I got a few words about Jalen Hurts.
If that comes to fruition, Snowman, you know that Cool Breeze is going to lose his mind.
Oh, he's about to lose his mind. What I'm going to say next.
Oh no!
But
I'll put it in 4 words.
Okay.
Jalen Hurts has regressed.
He has.
That's academic.
Since that Super Bowl loss, he has not done nothing but regress.
And I know Kellen Moore is a better offensive coordinator. I understand that. I get that. I offer no argument. The problem I have is that Jalen Hurts has regressed badly.
Heavily.
And your coach. Let's also talk about your head coach.
Oh, you
Sirianni.
mean Nick Tight Jean? What does Cool McCain say? Nick Skinny Jean Sirianni?
Yeah, Skinny Jean Sirianni.
But you need to get me in contact with JJ because I really want to call Royals Phillies.
Have fun. JJ, you're in the chat. You heard him.
Yeah.
I have O's and Astros. Wait, what was the one game you wanted me to help you with, Droid?
There was Phillies Royals, and then there was Brewers Cards.
I don't want to touch either
Here's
one
a
of
controversy. Here's a
I don't
controversial.
want to touch Brewers and Cardinals. I'm sorry. As much as the Cardinals were my first favorite baseball, no, thank you. No. I'm not
Here's a controversial thought. And
what? The Cowboys going 0-17?
And Snowman's going to hit me in the head. Caleb Williams has a really good debut season. Caleb Williams actually has a really good debut season and even beats the Packers.
We gotta pause that.
You're just gonna wave your finger at me? He's gonna wag your finger at me?
Are you out of your fucking mind?
Listen, the wide receiver core for the Bears is nothing to like.
The wide receiver core for the Bears is old.
They got Rome.
Aside of Rome and I love Rome Odunze. I will admit that aloud.
Yeah, I think it's very hard to hate.
Odunze is a breath of fresh air. And speaking of controversial statements, he should be wide receiver 1.
He should.
He should be wide receiver 1.
That's why I'm
because it comes back to what I've said all along. They have mortgaged and have now risked their entire damn future for DJ Moore.
Yeah, I
what
think
the fuck were they thinking?
I'll put it this way. I think Rome will be number 1 and DJ will be number 2.
DJ should be number 4.
Remember, you know what was the most misused wide receiver on the Bears last year?
Wait, what?
His first name is Darnell.
Mooney.
Mooney was so misused. He has so much potential.
Where is Mooney now, anyway?
I don't even know, man.
Isn't he still with the Bears?
I think he is.
Let's find.
No, he's on the Falcons.
Oh, on the Falcons.
Oh, Jesus.
Now I'm looking more towards the Falcons. Now I'm looking more towards the Falcons.
That's a good pickup.
Now I'm looking more
towards
the Falcons.
You're right. You're right. Right. As long as he ain't with the Bears, I'm good.
Now I'm looking more towards the Falcons because
now they got extra weapons.
More weapons for the Falcons, you got not only
out of my head. They got extra weapons.
They're thinking about their future with Michael Penix, and I like it. I love it. Atlanta, you're going in the right direction. Now don't mess it up.
Don't Falcons it.
Don't Dallas Cowboys it, all right?
Jesus.
Okay, 2 more, and then we got to get out of here. Number 1, Dak Prescott throws 30 interceptions.
He's going to pull a Jameis Winston? Is that what we're saying?
Yep.
I don't think so.
Okay,
15,
35.
but no higher.
Okay, 35.
No, 15.
And I'm also going to say...
Okay, 20. 20.
Y'all know that the Vikings have a curse, right?
Yes.
It's the Vikings. Who cares?
Teddy Bridgewater, injured in preseason, had a mediocre career the rest of his career. J.J. McCarthy, was injured a while back, played a preseason game, is out for the season.
And
coincidence? I think not.
I think not either. My other statement: the Cowboys won't win 10 games.
I could see it.
Hell, they won't even win 9. Because no one cares about the Cowboys, which is a lie, which is a flat out lie, and I know better. But I don't.
It's a tough road to hoe for the Cowboys.
Mm-hmm. It's going to be a tougher road to hoe for the Eagles.
Yeah.
Because Washington's going to mess around and win that division. The Washington Redskins are going to mess around and win that division. Here's a controversial statement. The Cowboys are more fraudulent. There you go. Bingo. Zip.
You know what? Controversial statement. Not only do the Redskins win their division, but I also say that the Washington Redskins will face off against the 49ers in the NFC Championship.
You know what? I find no lies.
I would love to see the face-off.
I would love to see. I'd love to see the Redskins and Niners go at it in Santa Clara for the NFC title, because the Cowboys are fraudulent. The Eagles are fraudulent. I'm not going to start with the Giants. The Lions have Dan Campbell as their coach. That should take care of that. The Rams don't have a defense. The
NFC South just doesn't exist anymore.
The NFC South should never exist in the first place. All right, I better beat it. My daughters are rumbling. I got work to do. So let me say thanks. Put something. You got nothing to put on it, JJ. And of course, I mean that kiddingly. Thanks everybody for tuning in. I appreciate it. Have a great day. God bless. Remember to make your next move your best move, and always remember, if your dreams don't scare you, they're simply not big enough. Dream big, do bigger. We are, and we hope y'all are too. Now my daughters are gonna come beat me up. See y'all tomorrow. Redskins and 49ers for the NFC Championship. Will it happen? We'll talk more next week.